I'm joined now by James McPherson. He's not just the host of the Late Debate here on Sky News at 10 each night. Don't miss it. He used to be a pastor, and we talked about this kind of religious bigotry way back then. I did an interview with him when he was working with the churches. Great to see you, James. This attack on Dominic Perrottet's faith by the ABC and by the now ex-head of Clubs New South Wales, it's not really surprising to you, is it?
Not at all, Andrew. And to think that the ABC would count this a big story, you know, Catholic school provides Catholic teaching to children of Catholic families who value a Catholic education. It's hardly a big news-breaking story, but according to the ABC, the big crime committed here, and it was said early in the program last night, was that the Opus Dei branch of the Catholic Church was, quote, not interested in being progressive. And that seemed to be the big issue that the ABC had with Opus Dei. A progressive church that aligns with ABC values, well, that's fine, but a Catholic school that aligns with biblical values, that's a problem, apparently. And that was the only problem that was really raised last night.
It's strange, James, I mean, because when they say, you know, they've got to be more progressive, and you get people in the more failing churches, particularly like the Uniting Church, right? They say, we've got to be progressive. We've got to be progressive. Be up with the times. That is in fundamental contradiction to what the Christian churches, whatever denomination you're talking about, are really there for. They are there to preserve the teachings of a man or God that lived 2,000 years ago. If you're making it up as you go along, then what is it that you're preserving from the past is the Holy Scripture. You're just like every other fallible institution.
Yeah, well, and by definition, a religion would not see itself as of the times, but beyond the times. And so we shouldn't be surprised that the values taught in a religious school will clash with the values espoused in popular culture, and particularly on progressive media like the ABC. The big complaint, of course, came down to sexual values, which were taught in the Catholic school. They got these values from the Bible, as you would expect. And we shouldn't be surprised that biblical values on sex don't align with popular values on sex. But the point is, no one has to go to a Catholic school, Andrew. But some Catholics actually want their children to be raised as Catholics. And this was another criticism that the ABC made. They said that the school and parents believed that it was their job to work together to inculcate a Christian worldview in their children. Well, of course they do. That's the responsibility of parents to raise their children according to the values that they believe will best help them in the future, not according to, you know, ABC values.
And on the other hand, if the ABC saw parents inculcating their child with, you know, a terror about global warming or bringing them to a gay pride rally, there'd be no problem with that at all, because there are values that the ABC supports. And maybe a lot of viewers support them too. That's not the issue. The issue is they can't stand Christians having Christian values. And I thought it came down to this. The title of this episode, Four Corners episode last night, was Purity. Purity in a mocking way. This is you know, how the Opus Dei teaches purity. And I'm thinking, well, given that purity is now being mocked as something, you know, an illegitimate form of teaching by the ABC, what do they want? Debauchery? That the school should be teaching, I don't know, promiscuous sex, you know, have sex when you're 13, here's the positions, by the way, take drugs. I mean, what is it that they find so worthy of mockery in the word purity?
Yeah, that was quite telling, wasn't it? I mean, the school was accused of teaching girls to be modest and of promoting chastity as opposed to, you know, promiscuity. And for that, these Christian schools were mocked and said to be, you know, of the 1950s rather than getting with the times and somehow harmful to our young people. Well, there's a lot of parents who would say they are great values and they'd much rather their children be hearing those values than some of the things they hear in other forms of media and other places.
Well, absolutely right. And you might not agree with them. It's perfectly legitimate for them to want to protect their children from what they think is harmful cultural values. I tell you what, a lot of Muslim Australians are thinking exactly the same, right? Exactly the same. There's a reason why the take-up in state schools is so low. Now, but this is part of a wider picture, James. We last year had, for instance, an AFL football club, Essendon, sack its new chief executive on the first day after finding out he was on the board of an Anglican church. We've had the Archbishop of Hobart dragged before the state's anti-discrimination tribunal for preaching what the Bible said about same-sex marriage, or what it said about heterosexual marriage. We've had Tony Abbott mocked for his faith. We had Scott Morrison mocked for his faith. Where does this hostility come from?
Well, gee, that's a big question, Andrew. But of course, biblical values now clash with the modern value, which is do what you want when you want, and no one's got the right to tell you how you should live. And of course, Christianity clashes with that sense of, well, we all should have personal autonomy. On top of that, I think the Christian faith promotes family, and the only thing that stands between government and the individual ultimately is one's faith and one's family. If you remove faith and family, there's nothing to protect the individual against the influence of the state. And so I think those particularly who want to push socialism want to get rid of family and undermine it at every opportunity, and want to get rid of religion and faith so that individuals end up becoming a slave of the state.
James McPherson, thank you so much indeed for your time. I'm afraid we're probably likely to be talking about this for a long time yet, because I don't think the ABC has run out of puff on this witch hunt. Thank you for your time.